The following session is for a HR executive role in the HRSimplified system. You are supposed to already have watched the employee training and the manager training for this to make any sense. So if you have not, we would suggest you finish those two first. With no further ado, let us start. Start by logging into the system. Once again, framework looks the same. You do have a few additional menus that a normal manager does not have, and you also have some menu items that look the same, but there's additional items below that. But as an executive, you are at the top, you are an admin, and you can see everything, do anything, approve anything, override anything that you like. So from an administration point of view, this is something new. This is where you manage your subscription. It shows you when the subscription date ends. It shows you how many inactive employees you have, how many active employees you have, and you have the ability to upgrade. If it's very close to this, so you might be, say in the next 5 days, it's up for renewal, there will be an additional button that says renew, which you can just follow those steps to do an online payment, and it will renew your account for the next month or the next year. Under payment history, you can go look at previous invoices, and you can, for instance, see what those amounts were, what the time was for that, and if it was paid or not, all that kind of information. Under administration, we now have a HR Insights, which gives you summary data about the company and all the employees. It shows you things like financial liabilities. It gives you things like the diversity and disability of the company, so we can see occupational levels, age ranges, ethnic groups, all those kind of things. If you're using our recruitment, you can also see your applicants' ethnics. You can also look at leave and claim details, so you can see, for instance, which departments has the most sick days, where was the most claims processed, how many claims was processed, what was the value of those, and then also you can see, for instance, sick leave costs. There hasn't been many, but here's your normal leave day. So over time, this becomes a very nice chart that shows you historically how your leave was taken. So you can see in December months we've got a spike, we need to get more people, or something like that. Organizational chart is the organogram for the business. In this case, this company is extremely flat. Everybody reports to the CEO. You can also click on that and get the details of the person. But the idea is that you can very quickly see what your organization looks like. And then you also have your stats for your organization. How have they been growing over time, or actually getting smaller in cases? We hope that's not the case. But that is where you can see that kind of information. So that's insights, and the insights are available everywhere. You will see under training, we also have a training insights, which also looks at all the training that's been booked, how much that cost the company, how much was spent on development, and also things like which courses are expiring. So there is a insights under each and every one of these. If I go to time and attendance, there's also an insights that talks about shifts, and then also latest location of staff. If we go to project management, we also have project management ones, which we've seen previously with the manager review. Same thing with performance management, and same thing with surveys. So go back to the HR administration. This is where you would do most of your work. We have a data quality dashboard. This looks at the entire company's data and gives you an idea of how good or how bad your data is. If you have a warning, that means that is a problem. And so there's 26 employees that does not have an hourly rate. You can then click there and go and update those. If we go to all employees, this is the employee file section. So everything to do with the employee is stored in this part of the system. You would look at the employee, you would be able to go into an employee. Now you see there's an additional edit button, and there's a delete and a deactivate button, which wasn't there before. Those ones are if you want to delete this employee, so you don't want him on the system anymore. But you can also deactivate him, which moves him from this list to the inactive employees list, so that you don't pay a full employee price for that person. You can maybe keep maybe it's a contractor who's coming back in 6 months. You don't want to go delete him and add him again in 6 months. You can then move him to inactive, and you'll pay a smaller charge for that person because we're just storing the data for them. They can't transact on the system, they can't log in, all that kind of stuff. There's also a missing one here that talks about change password, and the reason for that is that this user does not have a username, so you can't change their password, so they're not active like that. If I go to one of these, for instance, I also have a change password because this person has got a login. So the rest of the menu items are the same as what the manager would have. Only the one that you have extra is the edit button, which takes you into the employee profile. Loads a photo of the person. We have the person's name, the email address, where they're from, the town. what job title they have, the annual leave days, things like salary, those quick to access things. We can also see their HR record looks well because 100% health, which means everything is correctly filled in. Here we have all the details about that employee, their personal details. We've got their contact information, we've got the employment information, how are they employed, their permanent, temporary, or contractor, who's their manager. This is an extremely important field because that drives the entire system. We have the date joined field. If the person's on contract, when are they going to leave? The employee tax status. Then we have the branch, the department, the team, and the company. And then right at the bottom here, we've got a user logon with a type of role that this person has. You can go to the job information. So this is a normal employee. Weird position to have, but at the bottom here we can do job category and a job title. Those are more important for the analytics, so we ask that you try and keep them populated as much as possible. Then also if the person has a EE status and what the occupational category and occupational level is. If you do not complete these two, then the EA2 report that gets generated under reports is not very helpful. So the idea is to get these things populated as much as possible. We also have a detail around the remuneration, how the person gets paid, what the gross amount is, the hourly rate, retirement type, medical aid dependents, all that type of thing. Then we have the leave section, which takes care of how much leave the person currently has on the current balance, how many leave days they get for that cycle, how long that cycle is, and if there's an increase after each cycle. So in this case, we can see this person gets 30 days in every 3 years and he's currently got 18 days leave. That's how this whole entire thing sets up. You can manage this independently for each employee, and then you can, on the side here, you can say if the person does work on public holidays and if the person does work on weekends. And then you can pick the country that the person is in, because we use the public holidays of that country to then drive their leave applications. And then the job description is the last one. This comes through from the HR planning section. I will show you that in a second. Then we're looking at reporting structure, how this person fits in. So that just gives you a better idea of who's above them. Or below them, at least in this case, that nobody's reporting to the employee user. We have things like banking details that you can store. We have all the contracts that you want to upload, as well as other types of documents, which is the same as the share documents that the employee can see. So if you put them in here, the employee can see them as well. You can just go to document settings and then set certain types of documents are allowed to be seen or not. Rejected documents is documents that was rejected via the workflow, which is when the employee uploaded them, so they don't go away, they stay here. And then you can see all the share documents that the employee has either accepted or not, and if you've seen them or not. And then also employee surveys, all the surveys that's been completed by the employee. And then also the last one is all the grievances logged against this employee, and they all managed in the grievance management section. We also have the emergency contacts, which is next of kin, and this the employee can maintain from their home section. We have the education of the employee, which they can also maintain. We have the employee notes, which is what the managers can create, and HR can also create a new note from here. One thing important to note is if we do something like a warning note, there is the ability to generate a description from AI. You can basically add a very simple, it takes a long lunch every day, and if you go say generate, this will then go to ChatGPT to generate a properly worded warning letter or disciplinary or appraisal for you. Populate this block, and you can then save and send that off to the employee. If you add this switch on, the employee needs to do a signature on the platform, and that gets saved as a PDF with their signature on. That's notes. We have the HR application management. So this would be all applications submitted by this employee. So all his expense claims and overtime claims, all his leave requests from the first day that he started on the system. If there's any, we do an automatic accrual of leave on the first day of every month. You can see here if it has happened or not. So today there was one, for instance, 2 days was added for this person. And then also if there's any bonuses that this person has gotten, you can record them over here. Record health we spoke about, that's the performance. And now we go on to the performance management tab. Starts out with the performance assessments. These are all the assessments that's been sent to this employee to complete. We can see if they have been completed or not, which status they are in, what the scores are, and so forth. And then HR also has the ability to view and download them from here. Once it's been completely finished, which is manager reviewed, I think, there's an additional option to also edit that score if that is what is needed. Only HR can do that, not the manager. And then the last one is just taking all the performance management that's been done and overlapping them, so you can see over time if the employee has gotten better or worse. So you can see, for instance, those are the scores. Obviously, they don't overlap because they are scored with different KPIs, but if you do it in a nice production environment, this does actually paint a very good picture for you to see if an employee has gotten better in a certain area that you are tracking. And that's it for the employee record. Sorry, apologies, there's still training. Right at the end, there is a training recommendations. These recommendations comes from the manager when they do the manager review on performance. It will show you a skill that the person was recommended to be done, and this also shows you the course that's been picked for that person to be done and when that was recommended. From this list, you can then go to your training management and you can then go and create a training record. So you can pick a course, and for us to be able to get this, you need to go to the training component first and add your suppliers and your courses there. That will then make them available in this section for you and the managers during assessment to pick those courses for the employee. As they are added here, the employee can view them under My Training, and you can also see the status of that as it goes along. So that's the employee record. There's quite a lot in that record. If we go on to the next buttons or next menu items, we have Your Employees, which is just a shorter list of the people that report directly to me. There's also the grievance management, so I can see grievances that has been logged. Because I'm an admin, I'm seeing everything. I can also see the list of my inactive employees, and keep in mind, if you make somebody inactive, they do need to stay inactive for 31 days. You cannot reactivate them if they've been made inactive in less time than that. If it's more than 31 days, the activate button will come back, and you would then be able to go and reactivate that person. We also have document settings. I've mentioned it earlier, where as you put documents into the employee shared folder on his profile, or the employee uploads them, certain things are visible to the employee and certain things not. I will give you a quick example. As we can see here, let's say, where's before? Personal, I think resumes is a good one. Where's the resumes? There we go. If we switch that resumes on, we can go save that. We can go back to my documents, and we will now see I am logged in as the exec. Oh, I think I switched them all off now. Oh, my apologies, this person doesn't have any documents. So if you have documents that are resumes, they would then be listed here. If I go back to the document section and I switch that off and I save it again, if I go back, then those documents won't be shown anymore. So it's just a way for you to filter what gets shown to the employees or not. So if you have documents or letters that you want to keep private, you can do that by adding it to their profile and just not sharing it with them. Last one is the reports. There's a whole bunch of reports here. That's for HR. So some of them to note maybe is the employee diversity report, which is the EA2 report. There's also the I think it's an employee movement report, which I think is the EA4 report. So there are a few here that you can get. There's like leave liability, training courses per employee. There's quite a few here that you can run. So let's move on from administration. We go to HR planning. This looks a lot like what the manager had before. The only difference is that you have access to the planner, which allows you to create events for the entire company. That could be something like a year-end function. You can invite people to that. They'll get an email to say they're invited for that day and that they need to attend. So this is a way to keep track of events throughout the year that HR needs to plan. Capacity planner, there's a bit more here that you can do as an exec. You can go in and actually edit it, which will show you it will fetch the job description for us. Here's the job description, and this job description is what gets pulled into the administration section if you go to employee. You can just click the button and it pulls it from here. Then you can customize it, save it, and that would be what the employee sees on his side. So once you've created this job, and inside that you can add the requirements for this position, we can add the roles that this person has to do. We can also add the skills they need, the benefits they will get, any future roles that we think, responsibilities they might have, and then also if there's any specific training from our training providers that this type of role needs to have, we can add that here. That forms like it's like a big job title library with job descriptions. This is some central place to maintain that. If we go to recruitment, this is what is used to create a position outside for somebody to apply for. but we will get to that. So under capacity planner, we also have onboarding. If a person comes through our recruitment and they accept an offer, you can issue them with a offer letter, which is then, if they accept it, then brings them into the company as onboarding, and this would be where all the tasks lie for that. And then also if there's any onboarding tasks, general tasks that need to be done, or what the status are of those. So you can keep track of the rest of the managers if they've completed their tasks or not. So these are all tasks that's added when you create a new onboarding event. We also have a few of the workflow settings, but that's pretty straightforward. I don't think we have to go into that. Just maybe this one to maintain. If we have time management approvals, we can decide if there is approval or none. If you say put it on none, all time submitted goes approved immediately. No manager has to do it. If we do employee promotions, how many steps are involved, and all that this means, if it's set to 2 steps, 2 HR execs need to approve it. If it's set to one HR exec needs to approve it, etc. And then also if employees can upload their own documents, and if HR needs to request, needs to approve that or not. So that's pretty straightforward. Here's a few processes. So we can do employee promotions, which brings back a list of all the employees, their current job title and position, and their current salary. So if you needed to change, let's say this person has to get an increase, we would just change that value and save it. If I make a change, I'll see that it's made it modified, and I can then ignore that if I accidentally made a mistake. I want to undo all of the others. I can just submit them all without this one, and it will just ignore that one line if there was an error made. And then the same thing for company structures. This is movement. So if a person has gone from one branch to another, one department to another, or one team to another, or one company to another. So if you have group companies set up in the system, you can also do that. Okay, so claims is just there for a manager. Because you are an exec, you can also see the processing one. Which means you can take them from processing to processed, which means they will go to the employee remuneration report that you can send to payroll, and that report is under HR administration reports. We also have leave, because you're allowed to see everything. That stays the same as managers. We also have access to company, which is different than everybody else. You can see company details. You can maintain this as well. This email address is where the invoice is sent to as well for subscription renewal, so keep that in mind. You can load your company's logo here so that that's available when we use it. Under settings, you can get things like your tax numbers, VAT numbers, UIF numbers. You can enable or disable ICS files, which gets attached to a leave approval email so that the manager can add it to his calendar. You also can do activate and deactivate annual leave forfeiting. And you can say if you want to auto-close tasks or not, which will look at this time of the day to start it and that time of the day to end it. If you have this off, it won't stop things that's still running at 5. If you have it on, once it comes to 5 o'clock, it will switch those ones off. We can also switch off the leave balance indicators on the dashboard. So if you don't want your employees to see how many days they have, you can switch this off. And then you have your occupational currency here and preferred bank, and that is for payroll. We also have a few onboarding management items. The first one here is to preset all your duration of the cycles for leave. So if you're in South Africa, it will always be 36, which is 3 years, 12, 12, 12, 12. And then also if there's increases per year, you can set that over here. And then whenever a new person is onboarded or created, this will default to those values. And then you can set up all your onboarding tasks here. You can add some more. So that whenever a new onboarding is done, these are used automatically as tasks for that onboarding. And the company structure is where you do your branches, your departments, your teams, and your group companies. Public URLs gives you external URLs that allow you to open up pages like a home portal where all your buttons is available. We can also see the vacancy portal that is used for recruitment outside. And then you have your time and attendance check-ins for all the different departments and divisions directly. So that will open up a page that only shows those employees from that department. They can just click check in and check out on their names to be able to check in and check out. So that's pretty much public URLs. Now let's move on to the next one, organization shared documents. This will be where all the organizational shared documents are uploaded. This will be things like policies, newsletters, forms, all that kind of stuff that everybody has to have access to. If you upload a new document, you simply drag and drop it here. You say what kind of document it is. Let's say it's a policy. You say acknowledgement required, which means that all the employees in the company needs to acknowledge that they've seen this document, and you say create. When that is done, an email is sent out to every person in the company to tell them to go and acknowledge that document. They would then log in, go look for the document, and then actually start downloading the document and saying it's acknowledged. You can also come here to say, show me the list of people that has acknowledged it or not. And you can also edit or delete or just download a copy. So this is only available to HR Exec, of course. We also have a referral section, which allows you to create a referral for somebody else. That just allows us to market better. And then we have Office 365 integration, which allows you to come here. You can connect to Office 365 as with your Microsoft account if you're a administrator on the organization. Once that's done, you will then be allowed to pull in the organization from there, which will create all the employees for their managers and the departments, and you can then import that into the system to be able to load employees. It's just a quicker way of onboarding. This section is where you can maintain your shareholding for the business. This is for a future BE module that is being developed. Okay, let's move on to training. So training insights I spoke about already, so we can go into that. You can have a look at that when you get on the system. This is where you create all your service providers and all their details, who their contact people are, what their BE level is, all that kind of information is stored here. And then we have, let's go to courses first. Then we have all the courses, and a course then belongs to a supplier, and because of that we can calculate the BE level spend of that course if you assign it to an employee. And if we go back to course structures, on the left hand side we've got all the employees, and from left to right we have all the courses that's been assigned to an employee. And if you look at the legend at the top, we can say valid for more than 30 days, will expire within the next 30 days, no expiry date, or it's already expired. So if we go through this, for instance, James Johnson's web development has already expired. But this course that he did does not have an expiry date. So the idea behind this is, as a matrix, you can see, we can even make this a bit longer, we can make it fifth, so you can see all the employees. From left to right, you can see all the employees and their courses, so you can maintain what's going to expire and what not. We can also go to the training record section, which shows you all the training information. You can search there. You can also look at just requested training, booked training, completed training, and so forth. And then keep in mind the last one is expired training, which give you a quick list of all the expired trainings already in the system that we have record of. If you've got somebody that's been loaded that we don't have the details for, obviously that won't show. And then we also have inactive employees. So these are people that's inactive at the moment that had training, and that, so you know if somebody's left that's got critical skills, then you can be able to see them here. This helps you maintain that a little bit better. Time and attendance, we still have the insights which we know about. We also have the location, the map where the people checked in and out. We've seen that already. We also have the shifts, tweaking the planner and the shifts which we have there before. There's nothing in here new for an HR exec except for maybe the access points, which is places where people can check in, but this is brand new, so I'm not sure if you would use that. And then we have the reports as well for time and attendance. And the project management, we have exactly the same as before. HR exec doesn't have additional information here. Under asset management, we can now see asset management for the first time because this is an exec role. But if you had a manager that was a finance admin, or sorry, an asset manager, he or she would be able to get to this. This would be where you create all your assets and who they are assigned to, etc. You can also see a list of all the assets that's not allocated, which means they are in stock. We can see the ones that are allocated, and we can see expired ones as well because we keep track of time. For the orders that I mentioned in the employee training, this would be where you see all the orders that can be ordered. These are all the parts. These are all the orders that's been submitted. So I can say, okay, James Johnson wanted a notepad. I want to assign this to that person, submit it, and I can then go and process all, which would then send it to everybody. And then we have all the orders that's already been processed, pretty straightforward. Performance management, the only thing here that's extra for an HR exec is because you are at the executive level, you are the one that creates the OKRs that everything ties back to. So there's a vision that's been created with a mission hanging off it. It can also be a vision with some goals. I can actually go on that and see the details as well. And this is what all the KPIs and the KPIs roll up to. If I go to the Performance Management Insights, I can now see, for instance, that the action plans are getting 100% of the attention. That mission gets 100% of the attention, but this delivery value to both the employee and company mission is getting very low scores. So this gives me the ability to see in my strategic point, from a strategic point of view, how does my scores calculating toward from the KPIs. So it gives me a better overview of what's going on in the company. I can also look at the more detailed performance results, and I can also look at employees with a leaderboard from a position point of view, who's the employee that's doing best in that position and what's his or her score. And then OKRs, of course, which we spoke about already. And they are very simple to create. It's not a lot. KPIs as well. Preferably HR execs create this. They are also very simple, just a KPI name and the description, and that makes them available to the managers to use in the KPI and the assessment where they build the templates. Only thing that's new here for an exec is the survey management. If we go to templates, we'll see that there's quite a few that's been done here. We can see the amount of questions they have as well. So if I go create a new template, I've got the choice between either using one of the preloaded templates that we supply with their questions, or I can create one from scratch. If I use one of these, for instance, the exit interview, this I can then create. It's already got the questions asked. It's loaded in the server. I can just send it off to an employee. If it's for burnout or well-being, and then also there's 3 health and safety inspection workspaces, manufacturing that you can use. They all come with preloaded questions. For instance, here is the manufacturing one. If I go look at what that looks like, we do have quite a few questions preloaded that you can send to somebody to go do a health and safety check for you. And we can also see what the templates look like. You can add an image. You can also write like a little section here at the top, and that all goes with the survey to the employee themselves. If I go back to give you an idea, exit interviews are here as well. I know this is one that everybody asks about. So this one's got all the questions that you would normally ask of an exit interview already preloaded for you. As these are completed, you can then go see how the surveys was done by all the employees, and if they've answered them or not, and if they've answered them, what that looks like. So here's one that was answered. I have a healthy social life, neutral, agree. So you can see all that information, and it's always available. So if this inspection one's been completed, you can just go download and submit it to health and safety, and so forth. And then you have the reports around that as well. The only thing that's additional here would be recruitment. This is where job postings start. You would create a new vacancy, and you would do that from searching for, let's say for instance, general managers, and we are looking for a CEO. Here we go, and it automatically pulls through the job description from the capacity planner. This also then populates all the responsibilities and the roles, the skills, all those things as well. And you can also then go and once this is done, it creates an external view of this position that you can then share. You can invite candidates, and you can also view applicants. So if I go back to this one and I go to job postings, there's a new tab that gets added afterwards. I've got a public URL that I can use to put this on like in an email, and I will use this one for Facebook, this one for LinkedIn, and this one for other. As that's being done, I would then be able, under my insights, see how the pipelines are performing. So if I look at this, for instance, I can see 39 direct. On that day, we had 37 direct, 5 from Facebook, 2 from LinkedIn, and 1 from other. So it's a nice way of seeing what channels are performing better and what your stats look like. Then we have things like offers that once a person's gone through the pipeline. So if I go back here and I go look at open position, I think this one might, let me see if there's any applications here. So here's the application, offer was accepted. The applicant showed me the person's photo, their CV, all their details, their education, their history, and their skills match. So it shows me the skills that they need. So for instance, this guy does have AWS, and he has a skill set of forecasting. So those type of things are all building, and then you can decide to onboard them. This takes them through the entire process, where they are, and how to appoint them from there. And then the last notifications is where organizational emails are created and sent. These are group notifications for the entire company. And that is the end of the presentation. I hope that the training has been informative and that you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.